What do your prayers sound like? Well, obviously, mine sound southern, but one of the things people are often the most afraid of is praying in public. Now, I'm not talking about how pious do your prayers sound. No one's standing around like an Olympic judge with a 1 to 10 scorecard looking for imperfections in your prayer so that they can judge how well your prayer is given. Prayer is not to be a performance. Prayer is a conversation with a superior who greatly loves you. If you can talk, you can pray. Prayer is simply talking to God. David taught us that God allows us to even complain and fuss to Him in our prayers. David said things to God that I can never muster enough courage to say. Yet in David's grief, anger, and hurt, he openly and honestly shares with God his true feelings. There's no pretense or facade in David's prayers. They're real. Our prayers can be the same way. Yet when Paul writes to the Philippian church, he lets us in on a little prayer secret. He says we can pray with joy. We're still in Philippians 1, 3 through 5, where he says, I thank my God every time I remember you, and all my prayers for all of you. Here's the key. I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. What does it mean to pray with joy? Paul is talking about a group of people that he loved and he had worked with. And he simply said when he prayed for them, he prayed with joy. The word translated joy here is the Greek word chara. We've come across that word before. It is the root word in the Greek language for grace, for joy, and for gift. When Paul prayed for these people, he prayed for them with chara. That means as he prayed for them, he extended favor toward God for them. That's what the word means. Grace to extend favor. He prayed for their well-being. Paul's prayers for these people reflected an attitude of gratitude and grace. Now, although these people were dear and precious to Paul, they, like us, were not perfect. Nobody is. I don't care how good people are, they're flawed. We all make mistakes, and we all have cracks in our armor. Yet, when Paul prayed, he didn't accentuate those flaws. When he prayed about those people, he didn't concentrate on their weaknesses. He prayed with grace, chara, for them. In Scripture, we are taught to pray with grace for our enemies. We're told to love those who are unlovely to us. Jesus said in Matthew 5:44, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. I wonder if we can do that. That is, praying with joy or with grace for people who are unkind to us. Can you thank God for your enemies? Say, how can I thank God for my enemies? Can you pray and thank God that because God has promised to even use them and what they do in your life for your betterment. James wrote in James 1, verses 2 and 3, consider it pure joy. By the way, it's the same Greek word, chara. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Why? How can you do that? Because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Now, that's how we can pray with joy for everybody. Because we have a God who is committed to use everything that comes into our lives for good. Perhaps today there are people in your life who, upon reflection, bring a smile to your face. Perhaps there are people that the very thought or sight of them brings a scowl to your face. Can you pray with joy for either one of them? A great way to know that God is at work in your life is to know that you can pray to God and ask Him to bless the very people who are out to get you. If you can pray for people who have hurt you in the past or who are hurting you in the present, then you're growing in your faith. When you resist bitterness and embrace joy, that's freedom. So let's ask God to help us to learn to pray with joy for those in our lives like Paul did. Here's a great thought for the day. Pray with joy. Say that today. Pray with joy. And here's a great prayer to pray today. God, free me from bitterness, anger, and criticism. Help me to come to you with the joy and the grace that only you can give me. Have a joy-filled day today.